Hey guys, so yeah, so like yesterday I told you it was pretty chaotic. I went to Lakeview and Dan had a 9880 New Holland bell wagon, and those have an Allison in them, kind of like a, just kind of notices that, oh, I guess maybe that's just, they're just running them low flotation or something. It looks like it's pretty darn low on here, and they're new tires. Yeah, because the other one's like that too. Huh. They got new tires on the inside, duals. But anyway, yeah, went over there and I've got a Texa unit and I could plug in. The only thing electronic on those 9880s, the engine's mechanical, but the only thing electronic is the transmission. It's got an Allison. I think it's a Series 2000. It's almost exactly the same setup as an Allison and a Duramax, a Chevy Duramax. So I'm familiar with those pretty well, but that one's the newer style where the transmission range sensor is actually internal, to where you have to drain the oil, pull the pan, pull the valve body, and then pull the there's a little dowel pin that sets up in there that holds the shaft in, the manual shaft, that, and then the range sensor goes around that manual shaft, and you got to pull that roll pin out because it sets in a groove, but you can't get the pin out without pulling the valve body out. So then you pull that out. But anyway, it was going range inhibited. I plugged into it and I finally found what controller or what menu to be in on my Texa unit, because it doesn't really have it under New Holland. You got to go in on the truck side and go through powertrain and then go into Allison, and then I finally figured out what generation of what and got it to communicate. But I'm a little bit skeptical of the whole thing of my diagnosis on that, because I couldn't. And the bad thing is, sometimes when you don't have the OEM compatibility with the software that you're trying to plug into, your skepticism is validated, because sometimes it doesn't, the softwares aren't matching together the way they are. The diagnostic software on the scan tool is not really matching up with the software on the machine. So, I was a little bit skeptical, because I unplugged some sensors and stuff on that. What is she doing? She's chasing her tail or something. What? Hey, what are you doing? Let me go check, see what she's got going on over there. Okay, we took care of her. It's my child. Damn dog, she's crazy. Anyway, so I unplugged some sensors and I never could get it to throw a code. Key on, engine off, start it with things unplugged, and I thought, man, I don't know, dude. I said, I don't know if my software is not compatible enough to where it's not picking up the code, or is the control module faulty and it's not registering a fault. But we could get in, and we could get into the live data on the parameters on that, and we could see a bunch of live data and things that were working, and we could change. As soon as we went to reverse, come out of park, the range inhibit light would come on. But there's some certain things there's some certain things on the range sensor that you're looking for there that are supposed to switch, and they were never switching. So we tried to take it out and test things with an ohm meter, but the problem is you don't really know where you're at, because once you take that off, you don't have any deep tints there to go by anymore to know where you're at. So it's kind of a really screwed up deal. It's a lot easier to diagnose it on a Chevy pickup, and I'm sure if you had the New Holland software, it probably wouldn't be that bad. But I have to completely admit 100% on that one. I told Dan, I said, I'm not sure about this one. And Dan said, just get a range sensor. He goes, if it ain't that, we know it's got to be that. So I'm pretty certain it's the range sensor myself. I mean, most of the time when you see range inhibited on those transmissions, that's usually what it is. So I have to admit and eat a little bit of crow. Yes, every once in a great while, you kind of guess. and I hate doing that. It really bothers me. Especially in today's modern age where you can't get any parts. But anyways, I was trying to lead up to what happened on this. So the day, that was Lakeview. Lakeview's 2-hour drive from here, 4-hour round trip, obviously. And then by the time I got back, I think I had like 7 hours, you know, already into the day. And then I had to go take care of a hay squeeze that lost a U-joint, and it screwed up the yoke. And I finished that this morning because I had to helicoil the threads in it, and then the cross had come over and whacked and beat around inside the, you know, the female portion where the caps go, and so of course the cap wouldn't, you know, slide in there. So I filed and filed and filed on that to get things straightened out. Finally got all that straightened out. I just got to make sure this little youngin here is not in that road. Anyway, got that straight. That was last night. I tore it apart to get the cross measurement on the U-joint. And then had a 6-liter Ford that quit running, and went and looked at that, and it had a bad lift pump. And then trying to remember, there was something else. Oh, I had an N14 Cummins in a potato truck that was derated and was in limp mode or something, and I went out there and plugged into that, and I got communication with it, and it had a engine speed sensor missing signal, and but the codes weren't active. I cleared them to see if that engine speed sensor, and that's that sensor that goes in the bottom of the bell housing, and it was registering speed sensor. So I had it on the Insight, and I could read the speed, and I got under there and looked at the wiring and wiggled it around, and I drove it up and down the road like 3 times, and drove it on a dirt road, washboard road, trying to get it to come back. I never could. I hate problems like that. I wish that, you know, that's the worst thing about electrical issues is just, man, you just wish they would stay constant or where you could find it, you know. And then, anyways, I know there's a couple other things I'm missing of what happened yesterday, but by the time I finally got back to the shop here to look at this tractor, it was just almost getting dark, and I started messing with it a little bit to see if I could get it solved real quick, which it did not happen. It has a lot of CAN bus error communication faults, and the remotes are not working at all because of the CAN bus problems. So I just, before it got dark, I had a couple CAN terminator resistors in my truck, and I swapped the one that was easy to get to up here on the ECU controller, and then the next easiest one to get to is back here, which this is actually the one I went to first because this is the passive terminator for the, this is the passive terminator right here for the SCVs. I get sometimes a little bit confused between the, let's see now, the passive and active for, I think this is the active for the implement. See, I'm gonna have to get in the book so I'm not feeding you guys full of shit, but I'm gonna get in the book here, and let's just turn the key on and see what comes back. As last night I cleared them, and then these old tractors have got like 25,000 hours on them. It's crazy. And these tractors, these guys, these farmers, they keep buying these tractors, and they're Green Star ready, which they don't need that because they've got an aftermarket auto steer GPS system. This is, when I used to install all these, and do the calibrations and everything, Auto Farm systems. Auto Farm's Ag Leader now was the last time I looked, but anyway, it's got a bunch of auto track system because all the wires are ripped out of the steering angle sensor on the steering knuckle down there. You can see it right from here. So it's got 3 codes for that. I'm gonna get into the codes here, and I'm gonna clear them all. We'll just see what comes back. Let's just go. I'm not even really, you know, I know it's their communications code, so it's going to take a while for the thing to go through every control module in it and display the codes on here. And then I'm going to clear them all, and then I'd kind of like to just kind of start fresh and see what do we got going on here. What's this? I don't know why they changed that. I've You guys know how many John Deere tractors I've worked. I've never changed one of these ever on a 30 series. Never had one go bad. Not saying they can't, but it's interesting. All right, let me answer this call. All right, so I'm trying to. You work on the 6R tractors, and the Terminator resistors are in different places than they are on the 30 series. So, and these guys have been into this thing. This is not me, not my doing here. I'm trying to remember where they were hiding. See, they've got all this torn apart back in here, so I don't really know what they got going on there. I'm trying to remember where this one was over here. I can't remember if it was in the right-hand console, but the book says behind the fuse panel. I don't remember where this terminator was on this one. If it's back here behind this, I don't recall. I'm gonna have to get a little more. I know there's one underneath the floorboard here too. I thought, but the book's telling you it's over here, which I don't remember ever seeing one on this side of all the years that I worked on these things. The only one I ever saw was over there, underneath the cab over there on that side of the tractor. Yeah, I don't see one here. Alright guys, so I've determined that with all the codes that are in the controllers, so you're gonna have the vehicle CAN bus, you're gonna have the powertrain CAN bus, and then the engine transmission CAN bus, I believe, if I remember right. This one back here, I did look it up. This is the passive terminator for the SCVs right here. Oh, so yeah, you're gonna have the powertrain, the transmission, and the SCV implement. There's an implement CAN bus too, I think. I don't know. There's a lot of them on there, but anyway, this is the one. I looked it up in the book. This is the passive terminator. It's 4 wires. So your active terminator is actually what's going to put your screening line voltage and your ground to this one. So what you can do is you can unplug your passive, and let's check or make sure we have screening voltage here. If you have no screening voltage here, then you know maybe where there's a wire broke somewhere, or the active terminator is not functioning properly. That must be the ground. I really can't tell. Oh, it might help to have the key on there, genius. Yeah, that might further our cause here. Actually having the key on. These guys are something else here. They put this. I'm glad I noticed. I mean, I was grabbing that to help myself up. I could have run that clip all the way through and just. That goes up there like that, and then that clip goes on there, but that's really not going to do a whole lot of good because it can still come. Maybe it can't come past that. But yeah, I could have ended up on my ass pretty easily on that deal. So let's see here. You got the red wire going into the bottom terminal. It's obviously your 12-volt power. I see a yellow wire there, and I see a black wire there. So if we have a good ground, and we identify where the ground is, which I'm thinking it's this one here, which you can't see it. So we have good screening voltage, and we have a good ground. You got 2.6 volts there, and 2.4 volts there, which doesn't really seem that abnormal to me. It's actually pretty good, so... Huh. Okay. So, go between pin A is obviously the ground. I put these in such a wonderful location. How the fuck are you? So pin C, it's almost 3.1 volts. That's too high. What? Oh, that's pin B. I'm on the wrong one. C. Actually, that's pin D. This is C. No, wait. B, C, D. 2.2 and 3 volts. 3 volts is too high. So that's what's wrong. The CAN vehicle network is screwy. So, we're going to pull this right-hand console apart and find that CAN terminator. That's the active ones underneath there. Alright, so I had another CAN terminator in the shop. This is the active one. Gonna tear half the tractor apart to get to it. It's right here. This is for the vehicle CAN bus. So let's plug this one in. Let's check our voltage over there and see what we got. If anything changed at all. Between pin A and C, between pin A and D. A's the ground. Okay. I guess I'll just kind of have to stick it here somewhere and you're not going to be able to see anything. Still too high. Yeah, that did not change anything. So let's unplug this terminating resistor here and see if anything changes on the CAN line. We got something going on with the controller, I think. And that brought the voltage down on that line. And it went down on both of them. But, you know, God, I've had a lot of control module problems lately, you know? Let me just ask for shits and giggles. Get my meter and check this. Means this is the active. This should be the active one. Let me walk back around to the other side. And see, make sure everything, screening line and ground and all that shit is there. I'm pretty sure this should be the active terminator. Man, I had a lot of CAN bus problems this year. A lot of, I mean, constantly working on CAN bus problems this year. Yeah, this is the active terminator here. So, yeah, got good 12 volt coming into it. So there's going to be 2 ground lines. Okay. So you're going to have 2.1. I got a feeling we got a bad controller. Alright, so trying to figure out which one it is. Alright, plug that back in. Let's go over here. Let's get into the DTI module there and see if any of these modules are not receiving information. So go over here to this Okay, so the ECU is receiving messages. See how it's, and then you can see it's reading controller information. It should display the serial number, all that kind of stuff. So go down to TCU, see if it reads everything on it. It's transmitting and receiving messages. It's changing, and it read the information on the controller. UIC, reading controller information. Okay, so it's reading that one. How about the SSU? The selected device is not responding. So, okay. BIF. It's reading that one. What is that with a question mark on it? Industry Group 2, Device Class 1. Don't know. BCU. It's going to read this one. SIC. It's reading that one. DTI. PCO. It read that one. Read that one. So far, the SSU controller, which is on the vehicle CAN bus, it would not read it. So then we can find maybe a fuse for the SSU controller. So let's go back up to SSU and check it again. Reading controller information. Now it's going to read it. Well, no, it's not giving you the part number. That's very strange. Go back to UIC. See, the UIC is telling you the controller part number, the controller serial number, but you go down to the SSU and it doesn't even show you a part number or anything. There's something goofy with the SSU controller. So let's cycle the key. Turn it back on. Go back over here. I want to check this again. I'm going to go back down to the SSU controller. It's not responding. Let's go to the SIC because the SIC controls the remote. Okay, so the SSU appears to be the one that might be causing us all our problems. Something goofy going on with that SSU controller. Okay, folks, so we knew the SSU controller was not acting correctly and not receiving messages and not transmitting correctly. And so I go down to fuse number 10 and 11. Number 11 is battery power for fuse, and somebody has got tin foil wrapped around the fuse. Isn't that sweet? Okay, so is the fuse panel itself, all smoked and burnt out on that side of the panel. What do they got? What are they doing here? Let's check and see what our, that's very interesting. So I should have, okay, let me get my leads to where they're untangled and I can, you gotta have an oscilloscope to find that tin foil wrapped around that. No, you can't do that with a multi-lever. You gotta have an oscilloscope to do that. Battery power on that one. Battery power on that one. So why did they have tin foil? Why'd they have tin foil wrapped around the fuse blade? And did our can voltages on the can line with those fuses pulled out, did they go back to what they should be reading? That's what I'm wondering. So easy to get to. No, there's still 3 volts. Still high. 2.2 and 3, still the same. I'm not understanding, why did they have tin foil wrapped around the blades of the fuse? That's a mystery to me. Let's actually check. I mean, has the fuse got high resistance on it or something? Why did they have tin foil wrapped around the blades of the fuse? I don't. You know what? That fuse, that fuse has got high resistance, I think. Let's just go there. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. No, there's nothing wrong with that fuse. I'm not sure what the hell they were trying to accomplish there, to be completely honest with you. I don't see that. It doesn't look like it's burnt or anything. Okay, so where did the other fuse go? Alright, sometimes you eat the, you know that, sometimes you get your ass kicked every now and then. Basically, the book led me astray because I just wasn't understanding what it was saying. There was some kind of, if you had PAPTOS, I don't even know what that is, PAPTOS shifting, and they were telling you the passive terminator was over there. Well, there's a resistor over there, but it's obviously for the implement system or something. Well, that's not it. I just decided to take it upon, well, what I did, you know, I kept getting this SSU controller that wasn't communicating. It still isn't. So I took this apart and unplugged it to see if my CAN bus voltage came back to the appropriate voltage, and it didn't with that unplugged. And it, so I thought, well, something's goofy going on here. And I said, you know, I remember changing a CAN bus terminator down here before, because it's been years since I'd done one on a 30 series. But, you know, there's a passive terminator right here, and that's the one. That's the one right there for the vehicle system. And now my CAN voltage is 2.7 here instead of 3 on pin D. And now, so this is kind of funny, guys. I got it fired up thinking my remotes were gonna work now, right? Because I didn't have any more communication codes. So I went, as you can see, the only codes that I've got are that steering angle codes because those wires are ripped out. So go into here and you'll see that there are no codes. Grandma was slow, but she was old. See, those are all clean lists there. The only one's the SSU controller. I don't even know if it's gonna bring them up. That's bringing them up now. But those are those wires up front. And as you can see, my remotes are working now. Okay, so I got over here, guys. After I got the CAN bus errors fixed, I noticed that every time I pushed the remote lever, it wasn't throwing any codes, and I said, they got it locked. And sure as shit, I went over here to the little hydraulic insignia where the cylinder is, and there's, watch this. Oh, the little lock thing was on, and I pressed the lock thing, and now the remotes work, so there you go. They had them locked. Anyway, I gotta put all this shit back together. We gotta put this fuse panel back together correctly where these ding-dongs had it all torn apart. And yeah, what an adventure. Had fuse on the blades of the, or tin foil on the blades of the fuses, had the fuse panel all torn apart. Yeah. Anyways, well, I would have found it pretty quick if I could have figured out, you know, I knew that I had a vehicle, you know, you're gonna have your engine, basically powertrain CAN bus system, your transmission, you're gonna have your vehicle, and you know, which is gonna concern your implement, and your SIC controller, and your SSU controller, and all that stuff. But anyways, well guys, I gotta go do some other things. Everybody's on my ass, so we got this one done. I just gotta put all this crap back together.